Welcome to Love Lies Chronicles.
I still remember the exact tone in her voice when she said it. Not shaky, not emotional, not even cruel. Just final. I love him. I'm not coming back. That was it. No preamble. No apology. No explanation that made sense. Just a simple declaration, like she was confirming a dinner reservation. Like everything we had built over the past 9 years could be summarized and dismissed in a single breath. The call came at 6:47 p.m. I was standing at the kitchen counter slicing limes for her favorite gin and tonic, assuming she'd be home soon. That was the plan. Or at least, the one I thought we were still following. I had dinner going. Nothing fancy, just pasta and garlic bread, but I'd lit candles. Dimmed the lights. It wasn't even a special occasion. I just missed her. And then the phone buzzed. No caller ID, just private number. I picked up without thinking, figuring it was one of those spam calls. But it was her voice. Flat. Distant. I said her name once. Just once. Then she said the words that ended everything. I love him. I'm not coming back. I didn't even get a chance to speak before the line went dead. The silence that followed wasn't peaceful. It was sharp, electric, like the air after a lightning strike. My hand stayed clenched around the phone long after the call ended, the kitchen knife still resting on the cutting board beside the half-sliced lime. Her gin and tonic sat unfinished, the ice melting slowly into the glass like a quiet surrender. I didn't cry. Not right away. That came later, in strange moments. Like the next morning, when I opened the fridge and saw the half-finished yogurt she never remembered to throw out. Or when I stepped into the bathroom and caught the scent of her shampoo still lingering in the air. It wasn't grief, not exactly. It was disorientation. Like my reality had shifted 5 degrees to the left, and no one else noticed. I sat down on the edge of our bed. No, my bed, and stared at the photo of us on the dresser. Cabo, 2018. She was sunburned and windblown, and her smile still looked like it belonged to someone who loved me. We'd spent that entire trip drunk on each other. Barely left the resort except to watch the sunset from the beach. I had proposed to her 2 months later. I used to think that memory would be a touchstone for us. Something to come back to during the hard times. But now it just felt like a well-shot lie. I keep replaying it, the way she said it. Like she had rehearsed it. Like it was something she had said in her head 100 times before she let it slip into the world. It wasn't even the fact that she cheated, though I had suspected something for a while. It was the confidence, the certainty, the complete absence of guilt in her voice. I think that's what broke me. She had already emotionally detached herself months ago, hadn't she? I just didn't want to see it. I clung to the idea of us, because letting go meant admitting that I'd been loving someone who had already walked out emotionally long before she walked out physically. I'd noticed the late-night texts she'd hide with a casual screen flip. The last-minute plans that always involve people I never met. The coolness in her voice when I asked if she was okay. The new lingerie that never made it into our bedroom. But I stayed. I adjusted. I told myself she was just stressed. That she needed space. That we all go through slumps. I never thought she was preparing to vanish. I didn't know what to do with myself after that call. The pasta boiled over. The garlic bread burned. I just stood there, staring at the door like she might still walk through it, shake off the words, and say she was sorry. That she didn't mean it. That she was just confused. But no, she meant it. The worst part? I think she believed I'd wait for her. Like she could run into someone else's arms, soak in that temporary high, and when it all came crashing down, as these things always do, I'd still be here. Waiting. Forgiving. Holding on to the hope of reconciliation like some heartbroken fool. She misjudged me. She mistook my silence for weakness. My patience for permission. My loyalty for a promise to never walk away, even when she did. That's when I made the decision. I wasn't going to chase her. I wasn't going to cry to her. I wasn't going to send dramatic texts or beg for another chance. I had already given her too many chances to show up in our marriage. And she'd wasted every one. So no, I wouldn't fight for her. But I would make sure she had nothing left to come back to. No photos. No toothbrush. No keys. No backup plan. She wanted to burn the bridge. I was going to make damn sure there were no ashes left to sift through. She thought she ended something. She didn't realize I was about to erase it. The first thing I threw away was her pillow. I don't know why that was the first item. Maybe because it still carried the faint trace of her scent, some expensive lavender detergent she insisted on using. Maybe because I'd spent too many nights staring at that empty space, listening to the hollow rustle of her absence and wondering if she'd ever come home. She wouldn't. She said so. I believed her. So I stripped the bed and shoved her pillow, along with her side of the sheets, into a black trash bag. The bag ripped slightly as I tied it shut, a feather poking through the tear like something trying to escape. I stood there for a second, holding the bag in one hand, unsure what to do next. And then it clicked. I wasn't grieving anymore. I was cleaning. Room by room, piece by piece, I began erasing her. It didn't feel like revenge. It felt like therapy. Every shared photo, every trinket picked up from beach trips and wine tastings and long weekends that had once meant something. I gathered them all into boxes labeled only with a date. No name. No explanation. Just the timeline of a relationship that had expired without ceremony. Some of it I donated. Some I trashed. A few items, the most sentimental ones. Our wedding invitation, her handwritten anniversary note from 3 years ago, the necklace I gave her for our 5th, I burned in the fireplace one evening without a word. I thought I'd feel something when the paper curled and blackened. I didn't. The house had always been more hers than mine. She was the one who obsessed over color palettes and throw pillows. She insisted on keeping our books color-coded on the shelves, like we were running some boutique Airbnb. Her fingerprints were everywhere, so I scrubbed them out. I repainted the bedroom first. That dusty pink she once called romantic was the first thing to go. I went with a cold, clean gray. Something neutral. Something that didn't remember her. Then came the closet. Her side was still full. I don't know what she took with her, maybe a suitcase or two, but most of it remained. Expensive heels. Summer dresses. A half-used bottle of perfume that made my stomach knot when I picked it up. I didn't hesitate. I didn't even sort it. I bagged every article of clothing and took them to a local shelter the next morning. The woman at the donation center smiled when I pulled up, but her expression faltered slightly when she saw the sheer number of bags. She won't need these anymore, I told her. She didn't ask questions. She just nodded and took them. After that, it became something of a mission. Every evening, I tackled a new area. Bathroom drawers. Hallway closets. That little nook where she used to leave her keys and sunglasses. The apartment grew quieter with every item I removed. Emptier. Cleaner. Better. I opened a new bank account. Closed the joint one. She hadn't touched it since she left. Not even a text to ask where her share was. I transferred her portion to a separate account and emailed her the details with a subject line that read, "Yours." I won't touch it. No response. I expected as much. Our Spotify account, deleted. Our Netflix subscription, changed. The wedding playlist we used to listen to when things were good, gone. I unfollowed her on every platform. Blocked her number. Blocked the guy she ran away with too, even though I never learned his full name. She didn't deserve the dignity of leaving behind breadcrumbs. She made her choice. She said, "I love him. I'm not coming back." That was all the closure I needed. I found an old shoebox buried in our closet labeled Memories. Inside were notes, concert stubs, Polaroids. One of them stopped me, a photo of us at her sister's wedding. She was laughing. I was holding her waist like it was the most natural thing in the world. We looked happy, not staged, not posed, just happy. I stared at it longer than I should have. Then I flipped it over and wrote on the back, "This is the last time I ever truly knew her." And I burned that one too. That weekend, I rented a dumpster. Not a small one, the kind you get when you're gutting a house or tearing down a kitchen. I filled it. Furniture, rugs, dishes she picked out from that overpriced boutique downtown. The espresso machine I bought her last Christmas that she barely used. The ridiculous live, laugh, love art piece she hung in the hallway even though I hated it from the start. Gone. By Sunday, the apartment was unrecognizable. The pictures were off the walls. The cabinets reorganized. A new couch arrived. A different bed. New linens. Even the scent had changed. I swapped out her essential oils for something simpler, colder. The apartment didn't just look different. It felt different. Like it finally belonged to someone who wasn't holding their breath for another person to come home. This wasn't an act of anger. It was an act of preservation. Because I knew her type. She said she loved him. She said she wasn't coming back. But people like her never burn their bridges completely. They leave the coals warm, just in case. They think they can come back when it all falls apart. Pick up where they left off. Reclaim the safety net they took for granted. But I wasn't going to be her safety net. I wasn't going to be a man who stood still while someone else decided if he was worthy. So I moved forward. And every trace of her? I buried it under silence. It was exactly 23 days after she left when I got her text. I hadn't expected it that soon, not from someone who claimed to be never coming back. But I guess things don't always go the way people plan when they're chasing someone else's spotlight. I stared at my phone for a few seconds, not sure whether to laugh or feel insulted. "Can we talk?" That's all it said. No context. No greeting. Just 3 words. Not, "I'm sorry." Not, "I made a mistake." Not even, "Can I come home?" Just, talk. She really thought she had the right. I didn't respond. Not immediately. I left it on read. Let her sit with that silence. Because when someone tells you, with total certainty, that they're in love with someone else, and then they quietly circle back weeks later like they're texting an old friend, it's not confusion. It's entitlement. She followed up a day later. "I just want to explain." Of course she did. I waited another 2 days before replying. "You can stop by Saturday. I'll give you 15 minutes. That was generous. But I wanted her to see it. I needed her to see what she'd left behind, and how little of it was still standing. She showed up exactly at noon. I watched from the window as she stepped out of her car, dressed in black jeans and a tan coat I didn't recognize. Hair straighter than usual. Polished. Prepared. Like she was walking into a job interview. I wondered if she'd rehearsed a speech on the way over. I didn't open the door for a few seconds. I let her knock twice. When I did finally open it, she blinked. She looked past me into the apartment like she wasn't sure she had the right address. Everything was different. The rug she loved? Gone. The bookshelf she curated like they were some museum display? Empty. The kitchen wall she painted by hand? Repainted. Even the smell was different. No lavender, no vanilla, just clean air and distance. I stepped aside. She entered slowly, like she didn't trust the floor. She turned in a slow circle, her brow furrowing. "You redecorated." It wasn't a question. More like a failed attempt to hide the shock. "I made changes," I said. Her eyes landed on the couch. Not our couch. Not the navy blue monstrosity she insisted we buy even though I hated it. A new one. Sleek, gray. Nothing that remembered her. The silence dragged on a beat too long. "You didn't waste any time," she said. I looked at her, and for a moment, I almost replied with something petty. Something sharp. But I didn't need to. Because the space around us already said everything. She walked through the apartment like she was trying to find a piece of herself. A trace. A photo. A drawer. A toothbrush. There was nothing. She paused at the hallway, where we used to keep our framed vacation photos, and stared at the blank wall. I could feel her stomach sinking. She turned back to me, softer now. "Is all my stuff gone?" "Yes." "Did you put it in storage?" "No." Her lips parted slightly. That answer knocked something loose in her. I watched it register behind her eyes, that this wasn't some emotional tantrum or a phase I'd snap out of. I had taken her at her word. She said she was never coming back. So I made sure she couldn't. She sat down on the edge of the new couch like she needed to steady herself. For the first time, her eyes met mine without that smug calm she'd worn during the last few months of our marriage. "I didn't think you'd move on this fast." That was the line that made me almost laugh. Move on? This wasn't moving on. This was self-respect. I sat across from her, not too close. "You said you were in love with him." "I thought I was," she admitted. "I don't know anymore." Of course she didn't. Whatever fantasy she built with him had cracked. Maybe he wasn't as available as she thought. Maybe his promises collapsed under the weight of reality. Maybe she saw what love looked like without safety, without a husband holding the door open behind her. She looked around the apartment again. The new walls. The new air. The absence of her. I just needed space. I wasn't trying to destroy everything. I nodded slowly. "You didn't." She looked surprised at that. I leaned forward. "You didn't destroy anything. You just removed yourself from it. I built a life for us, and when you left, I realized you were never really part of the foundation. You were just here." Her mouth opened slightly, like she wanted to object. But she didn't. Because deep down, she knew it was true. "You changed," she said finally. "No," I corrected. I stopped pretending. The 15 minutes passed faster than either of us expected. But I didn't extend it. When she stood up to leave, she hesitated at the door. "I guess I was wrong about a lot of things," she murmured. I didn't answer. She walked to her car without looking back. And when she drove away, I didn't feel triumphant. I didn't feel bitter. I just felt quiet. That was the difference between her and me. She made impulsive choices, thinking the door would always be open. I made one quiet decision. and sealed it shut. I thought that would be the end of it. She left. She came back. She saw what was left of us, nothing. And she walked away again, this time without any more texts, no dramatic speeches. Just silence. But quiet doesn't always mean peace. Sometimes it just means something's still moving beneath the surface. 2 weeks after she visited, I got a message from someone I hadn't spoken to since the split, her friend, Jenna. They were close. The kind of close that made me uncomfortable sometimes. Jenna was bold, brash, and always had opinions about our marriage that she never quite kept to herself. In the early years, I tolerated her. In the later ones, I avoided her altogether. The message was short. Can we talk? I think you should know a few things. My first instinct was to ignore it. I didn't owe anyone anything. But something in her wording got under my skin. Not, I want to explain. Not, I want to defend her. Just, you should know. So I agreed to meet. Neutral ground. A cafe downtown. When I walked in, she was already there, sunglasses perched on her head like armor. She didn't smile. Just nodded toward the seat across from her and slid a coffee in my direction. You look better, she said. I said nothing. She sighed. Look, I'm not here to pick a side. I've known both of you a long time, but I feel like I need to clear something up. I waited. She didn't fall into that affair, Jenna said, leaning forward. She was planning it. For months. It wasn't just some emotional connection that spiraled. It was deliberate. I already knew that, deep down. But hearing it confirmed, so plainly still burned. She told me she wanted to test the waters before ending things with you. To see if it was worth the jump, Jenna continued, eyes flicking up toward mine. She even joked about how you'd probably take her back no matter what. Said you were too stable to walk away. That hit harder than I expected. Stable. That was what she used to call me when she was grateful. When we were building a life, not tearing one down. It was her favorite compliment, until it became a criticism. A punchline. She told me not to say anything, Jenna said. Made me swear, actually. But I think you deserve to know. Especially since she's trying to come back. I raised an eyebrow. Trying. Jenna hesitated. She didn't tell you? I shook my head slowly. She's not with him anymore. It didn't even last 6 weeks. He wasn't who she thought he was. Married. 2 kids. Told her he was leaving them, and didn't. She found out after she'd already left you. Apparently, he's blocked her now. She's humiliated. There it was. The real reason for that text. For the can we talk. The second visit wasn't about regret. It was about rejection. She didn't return because she missed me. She came back because the man she gambled our marriage on turned out to be a lie. She thinks you'll forgive her eventually, Jenna added. She's convinced this is just your pride talking. I let that hang in the air for a few seconds before answering. It's not pride, I said. It's memory. I remember what it felt like when she chose someone else. I remember how certain she was when she said she wasn't coming back. That clarity? That's what I'm holding on to. Jenna nodded slowly. Then I guess she really has nothing left. She chose that, I said. She can live with it. Jenna didn't try to defend her. That surprised me. She just sipped her coffee and said, for what it's worth, I didn't think you had it in you. Cutting her off like that. I didn't think I did either, I said. Until she made me. On the way out of the cafe, she stopped me. You know, she blamed you for everything. Said you were too cold, too detached. That you didn't fight for her. I turned to her. She was right, I said. I didn't fight. I walked away. And I've never felt stronger. She didn't reply. Just watch me go. As I got into my car, I realized how calm I felt. There was no longer a question in my mind. I wasn't curious about what she was doing or how she was coping. I didn't want updates. I didn't want closure. What I wanted, what I'd finally built, was a life that no longer required her in it. That's what she never understood. It wasn't just about throwing her out of the apartment. It was about erasing the idea of us. She had a support system when she failed me, but I'd removed the net. And this time, she was going to hit the ground. I filed the divorce papers on a Tuesday. No fanfare. No final conversation. No dramatics. Just a simple packet of documents, signed and sealed, with her name typed neatly beside mine under the heading, Petitioner and Respondent. I dropped them off at the county clerk's office before work, picked up a black coffee from the corner cafe, and answered emails like it was any other day. That's what it had become by then. Just another task. Another thing to check off a list that no longer included her. I didn't tell her I was filing. I didn't need to. She said she was never coming back. I just made it official. The only thing I did was mail a single manila envelope to her sister's place. She was staying there now, from what Jenna told me. No return address. No note. Just the divorce documents and a pin. I never even checked to see if she signed them. That part didn't matter anymore. The last thing she could ever take from me was time, and I wasn't giving her another second. That week, I finished replacing the last of what she left behind. Bought a new dining table. Clean, minimal. Mine. The kind of thing I never could have had with her, because she needed everything to be curated for Instagram, not comfort. I booked a trip a few days later. Somewhere quiet. A cabin near a lake. I didn't tell anyone. I turned off my phone and packed light. No reminders of her. No photos. Just a notepad, a sweater, and a bottle of scotch I'd been saving for a special occasion. Apparently, this counted. The cabin was nothing special: 2 rooms, wood panels, a fireplace that took forever to light, but for the first time in over a decade, I felt like I could breathe without waiting for someone to need something from me. On the second night, I sat by the fire with a glass in my hand and thought about the moment she left. I replayed her voice. I love him. I'm not coming back. I let the words echo in my head, like they were lines from a play I once watched too closely. But now, they felt distant, like someone else's story, a version of me that I'd already buried. I thought about all the ways she tried to explain herself, how the love had faded, how I'd become too steady, how she felt trapped by comfort, as if being reliable, present, and committed was something to apologize for, as if those were crimes. But I didn't feel bitter anymore. That emotion had burned itself out somewhere between the day I emptied her closet and the night I deleted her number. What was left was colder, but cleaner. It wasn't forgiveness. It was absence. And sometimes, that's stronger than rage will ever be. I stayed at the lake for 5 days. I hiked. I read. I cooked simple meals and slept like a man who had nothing left to prove. There were no surprises, no manipulation, no walking on eggshells. Just peace. When I got back home, the apartment didn't feel empty. It felt right. No ghosts. No echo of her laughter through the hallway. No memories waiting to ambush me in drawers or closets or old playlist folders. I stood in the doorway that first night back and looked around, not with nostalgia, but with satisfaction. This wasn't the place she left. This was the place I rebuilt. She texted once since the divorce was filed. Just one message. So this is it? I didn't answer. I didn't need to. She wasn't really asking. She was testing. Looking for proof that I was still the man she remembered, the one who'd wait. The one who'd welcome her back with a sigh and an apology. But that man was gone. She killed him the day she walked out and expected the world to stay still in her absence. This version of me? He doesn't wait. He moves on. And in case she ever comes looking again, I've left nothing behind. No hooks to pull me back. No old keys. No forgotten shirts. No corner of this life where she still fits. She said she was never coming back. I just made sure. She has nothing to come back to.
Dear listeners, please share your thoughts in the comments, and do not forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel.